Hey guys, Steve here with the Fitness Hub, and I am going to talk to you today about whey and more so its processing and how it's produced. So it comes from milk essentially, and has casein protein and whey protein. And whey comes from a byproduct of cheese production. So milk is treated to get the cheese, and that causes a change in the pH. Uh, Casein coagulates off and separates, and the whey is what is left on top. So the whey then undergoes further processing, and that processing is what dictates the quality of the whey that you are left with. There are several filtration methods that are used to give a pure protein source. The first is ion exchange whey protein filtration, and that separates the proteins based on their electrical charge, and it actually costs a fifth of that of microfiltration, which I will come to in a second. And there are some issues involved with this because chemicals are used, and that damages the pH sensitive fractions, and it denatures some of the amino acids that are in the protein. We don't want that. And some of those fractions include glycomacropeptides, aminoglobins, lactoferrin, and alpha-lactalbumin. I don't know if I pronounced all those right, but those are the fractions it includes. And essentially, the main benefit of those is that they give you a huge amount of immune support. They're really good for your immune system. They have other benefits, but really it all comes down to just boosting your immune system, and that's really useful. So this method gets rid of those, essentially damages and denatures some of those, and also damages and denatures some amino acids. So the benefits, the pros of this type of filtration is that it generally has less carbs, less lactose, and fewer fats. It's also going to cost you less because the filtration method costs less. The other method of filtration is cross-flow microfiltration, and as I said before, this costs a lot more than the ion exchange form of filtration. So this uses natural ceramatic filters which remove the unwanted lactose and the fat, and it does this based on their size and shape. The cons to this is that it produces a lower concentration of protein due to more fat and lactose being left behind, and that in its isolate form, so when more filtration is done using this method, it becomes very, very expensive. But the advantages is that hardly any of the protein is actually denatured, so you get to keep all those healthful fractions that boost your immune support system. It also doesn't denature the amino acids, so it has a better amino acid profile, and it produces a higher level or concentration of calcium, and it's basically the highest level of undenatured protein that is available to you. So there's some really good benefits. Obviously it's more expensive, and to be an isolate it's very expensive, and when it's not an isolate it is containing more fat and more carbs. The final method I'm going to talk to you today about is hydrolyzed. So I'm sure some of you have heard of this, and what exactly is it? And it's basically an isolate has been pre-digested with some of its amino acid peptide bonds, which are broken down into shorter chains. So basically, what does that mean? That means we're going to absorb it in our gut better, so the absorption is improved. So what are the disadvantages of this? Well, it produces a very bitter taste, and it's also not clear how much of the protein has actually been filtered using this method. No protein companies really state what percentage of the protein has been hydrolyzed. So I would guess, because it's an expensive addition to do, it will be very small. So the actual benefit you're getting from the increased digestion is very small. So it's going to be expensive and not really warranted. The advantages of it it's the easiest way to digest. So if you have problems with lactose, it's definitely one to go for you. If you're lactose intolerant, it's an option to you. So in my opinion, I would opt for a cross-flow microfiltration method, because you don't denature any of those goodies that are held inside the whey protein. You don't damage any of the microfractions that are going to boost your immune system. You're not going to damage any of the amino acids that are in it, and you're also going to get more calcium. All those things are very good, and the small cost is going to be the added lactose and fat that is with that. If you're really struggling to get down on your carbs and fat, and you really need just a pure protein form, then maybe opt for the isolate, but this is what I'd recommend. So in addition to that, I'd like to add that if you have trouble digesting lactose, if you're lactose intolerant, then you might want to look down the route of getting a hydrolyzed protein. That, like I said, it's difficult to know how much of the protein is hydrolyzed, but there are companies that produce 100% hydrolyzed protein. This could be an option for you. This will definitely help your digestion. And then those of you who are really cutting down and watching your carbohydrates and fats and don't want any extras, you may want to get an isolate and spend a bit more. So after all that, you're probably wondering, so what brands provide CFM, cross-flow, microfiltrated protein? What do I recommend? Well, it's quite hard sometimes to actually recognize which ones do. One I would highlight is Optimum Nutrition's 100% gold standard whey, and on the Optimum Nutrition website they actually show that they have this CFM acronym and that they use this technology. So it's definitely a good source of CFM whey protein isolate. If the company doesn't state how they're getting their whey protein isolate or their whey protein concentrate, what filtration methods they're using, then just simply email them. It's the best thing to do, because often you get what you pay for, but not always with brands. So be sure just to ask them, send them an email. They should provide you with the details. I hope that's been useful. I hope that gives you a bit of understanding about the way whey is produced and the certain ones you can go for with different benefits to each. Thank you very much, and as always, comment, subscribe and like my video. Also share it with anyone you like. Cheers guys.